Y in the middle of the A and the M, if that helps figure out what I'm talking about here. And it's like a potluck thing because like they're doing stuff. It's like, kind of like a vigil at the same time. It's like a whole thing. So I'm bringing a dessert, and I've never made this dessert before, and I think it's going to be real shitty. So I'm going to let the gaze down. It's going to be sad. Are we live?
Uh, yeah, I just pressed start. Once
Okay.
as right as you said, I'm gonna let the gaze down.
Great, great, great. That's not a negative thing. That's what they say. I guess I'm
Heard it
not. I
here
don't know if I could.
first.
Can I say it? Because I'm not. I
And
don't
there
know.
is no context whatsoever, so I think we should
Hmm.
just leave it at that.
Cardboard box 78. Taylor lets the gaze down.
Excellent show title.
Okay, well, welcome to the Cardboard Box, a weekly discussion about life, love, and video games. I am your host, Taylor, and with me today is Joe Mack
I'm Joe Mack.
and Kyle Spangler.
Hello.
I'm going to make this sound better by putting this mic right in front of my face where I'm eating. If you're just tuning in today, we'll be talking about the video games we've been playing, and then we'll move on to talk about E3.
E3.
Ooh, it just happened. Kyle didn't watch it, but he heard me talk about it, and then he muted me. It was great.
I got bits and pieces. I got the high notes and the low notes.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not sure if Joe did anything else besides what I said he did, so let's start with Joe. Joe, first of all, I want to know, tell me about this World of Warcraft movie and what you thought of it as a World of Warcraft fan.
Okay. So I went to go see this with Rachel and my daughter. A little bit of background: I started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, so I've been playing it for a long time. I'm not a story person, so when I was playing World of Warcraft, I wasn't really into the lore. There was this game function where you would open up a quest log and it would slowly scroll the text, and then you would have to wait for the text to be over in order to accept the quest to go on your merry to kill elks or something to get their pelts. But later on in the game, Blizzard did away with that, and it was automatic scrolling. So once you opened up a quest log, the entire dialogue would go through, and you could just ignore it and go on your merry way. And how I normally play the game was I ignored all of the story. I don't care about the story. I love the game mechanics. I love the technical aspects of World of Warcraft. And like the MMO, the movie was beautiful. I think that it does a lot of things technically great. We were talking about Uncharted 4 and the performance capture and how it made that story come to life. And for World of Warcraft, I think it's kind of the same thing, except the character design is really stupid. And I think that the movie is that the movie thinks that it's Lord of the Rings inside of its head instead of a campy MMO that features pop culture references like Paris Hilton is a hotel barmaid. So I came out of the movie disappointed. I thought it was too campy. I couldn't follow the character motivations. I thought that it was all muddled, and I was confused why you would start with the invasion of Azeroth when all the good stuff happens much later on. It just seems like this movie was step two or maybe step three in a World of Warcraft cinematic universe. But this movie is doing gangbusters. It is the most financially successful video game movie ever made. It is the number one movie in China. It even displaced Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So this movie is going to have sequels. It may not do well in America, but it's doing well abroad. And I like to see what they do with their second round out, but I was highly disappointed. Rachel and Zoe, they both liked it. They had a fun time. So your mileage may vary if you, depending on what you like in movies and how connected to World of Warcraft you are. But I thought
Cool.
it sucked. I thought it was fucking awful. Like every single time we go to the movies, I turn over to Rachel and I tell her that it's the worst movie I've ever seen. But most of the time it was just hyperbole. But this time I was being serious. It was really really bad.
Well, that's great, Joe.
That's
So, like,
fun. It's not
from
always Can't always say it was the worst movie you've ever seen. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that I mean, it could win the worst movie award. The Razzles, right? The Razzies? Razzies didn't. What did It's whatever Catwoman and the Love Guru also
The
won.
Dundies.
Is that what it is? No.
It's the Razzies. They hand out
Razzies.
yeah those awards.
But so yeah, as from what I know about the lore of Warcraft, sorry, this is not even in the World of Warcraft yet. This would be in between 1 and 2, I believe, of the Warcraft stories. Even the main character, or the guy that you're supposed to care about, that becomes a character that is alive during the World of Warcraft games, is like 3 generations until he gets there. The Lich
Right.
King
Yeah.
guy is the one that I cared about, because the only story I think I followed was 3. Warcraft 3, and that was like, I was like, oh, cool, is the Lich King in this? Like, is it gonna show him be the Lich King? And it's like, so far before that it doesn't even matter. Not that I saw the movie, but you know, I saw Finding Dory, so that's like the same thing, except better. Anyway, Joe, did you play any games?
Not really. I finished up Overwatch. I moved back into Destiny because there was this wild E3 sale on PS4. So I picked up The Taken King for the 4th time, and
For how much, Joe? For how much?
I picked it up for $30. It was
And it
the
still sucks, right?
It's like
no, oh my
10
goodness,
bucks
no,
off.
fuck you, Kyle. It is so good. It is so good. But the $30 package on sale included The Taken King. It included the original game, all the expansions, a 25 level boost, and some skins and doodads. But the game is still fresh. There's still a vibrant community. I went on the online section where it tells you how many friends are playing, and like 5 people are playing that game. And I went on to Overwatch, and only 1 or 2 are playing that game. So I think that speaks to like the quality of Destiny, or it might speak to the hardcoreness of the people left over.
Yeah, great.
So the Rise of Iron will only be available on PS4 and Xbox One. Is that correct?
That is correct. So this is the first time where a franchise is launching exclusively on the new generation instead of cross-platform. We have other series that are starting on the PS3, went to the PS4, and are still supporting both. But I believe this is the first big one that is doing that. So I'm interested to see what kind of functionality that they can produce with focusing on one console, not having to sandbag. Yeah.
Cool.
What does that mean for 360 and PS3 owners? Does that mean it's time for them to shit or get off the pot?
Yeah, I mean,
Time to get a Wii U.
we're kind of in that place with the economy where you have like the baby boomers who kind of aged out of the jobs economy because they don't have the skills to work in a modern day workforce. So it's kind of like that where the PS3 people need to adapt and maybe upgrade or find a new place, maybe on PC. I think PC is a great place for people who haven't made the cross to a new console, especially because we have all these new consoles coming out, and there's a lot of different mixed messages, but we'll talk about that later. But I think that if you don't have a current system, I think going to Windows 10 or it would be Windows 10, because I don't think that those people would have like Linux or game on the Mac. I don't think you can game on the Mac. Is that even possible?
Yeah, there's Steam on the Mac.
Yeah.
I was making a joke about Macs and how they don't get supported with video games. Everything comes out on PC.
Sorry, I was gone for a second. What'd you say?
Uh,
That's good radio.
and that's pretty much it. I've played Overwatch, Destiny, no mobile games, but I've been watching a lot of E3 and jumped back into Destiny.
Great. Okay, so Kyle, you got a lot of stuff on this little list here, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
I
First,
missed a few weeks, so my list is longer.
So why don't we start with your favorite game to talk about, The Division, and talk to us about that.
Well, I have not played that game in like a week or so. I've done the incursions. I've done the high value targets, the intel. I've done everything that they've put into that game, and it's no longer fun for me anymore. Um, so I think I'm done with the game until the update comes out, and if the update isn't great, I think I'm done with the game. Which is funny because I'm still I'm in the 5% of the community that's still playing that game. They announced at E3 that 95 or 96% of the people who bought the game on day one are no longer playing the game.
Oh wow.
So the community is it's to say it's dying is it's dead at this point. So they really need to have that new expansion be explosive for them. And it's funny that that's an expansion that's going to cost people. So if this is game changing, I mean that's kind of what the Taken King did for Destiny. It kind of revitalized that entire the entire group of people and the audience for that game. So if this doesn't do something like that for the Division, I think that game is on its way out. So more on that in the next couple weeks as I play the new DLC. I was peer pressured into picking up Overwatch, so I've been playing that.
Yeah.
And it really is not what I expected it to be. I was thinking it was going to be this. I knew it was going to be a Team Fortress game, but I was expecting it to have the sort of staying power that a game like Call of Duty 4 would have, where you're continually unlocking upgrades and you play it for the sense of progression, and that's why you invest so much time into it. After playing it, I realized that's not the case at all, and it's basically if Rocket League were a shooter. So having re-level set my expectations, I'm really enjoying that game.
Cool. You're enjoying it. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's good. I ate crow because I was very adamant against that game, and now I'm on your guys' side. But I will say that game needs more content because I'll only keep coming back to that game for so long. If I'm gonna play a game that is casual and always fun, I'm gonna play Rocket League instead of Overwatch. The only time I would play Overwatch instead is if I have more than 6 friends or something online that want to play games together. So I do think they need to continually add new characters, new maps, new game types, just to keep it fresh and exciting. Since it's one of those games it's instant gratification. I don't feel like there's a reason to play it. I get no sense of progression from that game, which is fine with what the game is trying to do. But I don't know. I feel like it needs more meat on its bones.
Yeah. All right. What else have you been playing?
I am still playing Doom, which I cannot sing the praises of that game enough, guys. It is the perfect marriage of old school and new school. It's just a blast to play that single player game. But other than that, there's not much to say. I'm still playing. Well, I started playing Fallout 4 after Far Harbor and the mods came out, and it's a lot of fun. I'm not interested in playing VR in that game in any capacity whatsoever, but I will continue to play the game on the Xbox. Halo Wars, I played the beta for, which was better than I expected it was going to be.
Yeah, I played that too. It was pretty fun.
What did you like and what did you not like?
It was the best console RTS. It seemed like it was pretty simple. It kind of like boiled down like the ridiculousness of something like StarCraft into like you have a home base that you build everything off of and like supply things. You don't have to send like little guys going to like cut down trees. Like there's not like little peons that are like more work. I don't know. I mean, I only played one round, so I got my ass handed to me because I didn't know what I was doing. But it was still pretty cool. Like I like the progression tree. I like the hero figures you can like build. It was really pretty. It was a really pretty game.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of RTS games, and that's the type of game I would only want to play like the single player campaign on, or like with a friend. I wouldn't want to just play with people online because I'd get wrecked like if I were playing StarCraft. It's not even going to be fun. But I like the level of customization the game seems to have.
Yeah.
it seems like there's going to be a lot to do in that game, and you can play. I mean, that's with any RTS, but you can play the game in several different ways based on how you just feel like playing at that given time. So I think it'll be pretty good. XCOM was free for gold users.
It's
so
free now still, so
I downloaded that, and it's so good, guys. It's still
Yeah.
so good.
it's so good.
It's good, but I just can't wait for September to play XCOM 2 now. And so what I really played the most was
tell us
Resident
about
Evil
it.
7, that teaser there. And I am having some sort of sordid, conflicted love affair with that game, and I cannot wait for that to come out.
Really?
very-
You were so down on it when I watched the live stream.
I was
On
down on it.
CBxCASTS YouTube.
So the first playthrough, if you guys watch our YouTube video of it, the first playthrough I did was you do what the game wants you to do, but after you play it, you immediately realize, hey, I can open up the little secret doorway first, and then you notice that there's a fuse in there, which immediately it kind of logically points you to replay it again. And try to play it differently. So then that opens up another room with another ending, and the internet still has not solved the true ending to this game. And I think now the internet seems to think that there is no true ending, and it's just Capcom trying to make us think we're playing a intricate PT type of game when we aren't, which is kind of a whole separate debate. But I think at first my first impression of the game was that it was just an uninspired cash grab for a PT type of thing. Hey, E3 just came out, here's a play. They're even calling it a teaser, they're not calling it a demo. So it was very on the nose about what it was trying to be, and I think they delivered on that, where it's the internet is trying to come together to figure out how to beat the game, but in terms of tone and how the game will play, it's nothing like PT, and that's what I'm excited about. Is it doesn't feel like a Resident Evil game, which is great, because I think that series has become very, very stale. It feels a lot more like Outlast or Condemned, which were both really fun games, and so I'm hoping that this game will deliver on that type of game. I really enjoyed the atmosphere that this game created, but some of the scares seemed cheap, so I'm hoping that's not an indication of how the game will play. They've said this game is supposed to be just a preview for people to understand the overall tone of Resident Evil 7 and the graphics and how the engine will work. So what the actual teaser is not actually the game. It's just kind of like a taste of. I think it kind of sets up some of the backstory. So, but yeah, I'm ready to play that game. I'm excited for it now after spending several hours playing that demo.
Do we know what is it this year or is it next year?
It's January 24th.
Ooh, that's pretty close then. That's not
Yeah, it's
quite
not-
like a
not
next
bad
year
at all.
game. It's
Yeah.
like a right after Christmas. That's what a lovely time for that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll kind of need a palate cleanser from all like the big bombastic November games.
Mhm.
It seemed like October actually was the month this year. If you looked at all the, I'm sure something's going to get pushed back, but like October was pretty much the month at E3 that everything was coming out, which was like, come on, guys, let's spread it out a bit, spread out the love. Okay, so that was that. Please watch our Resident Evil video. And Kyle, actually, we should do another playthrough. And maybe we could do a party chat, and I could watch you play, and we could talk about it as you do stuff. I think
Yeah,
that
I
could be
would,
fun.
I would like to do that. I'm kind of waiting to see if there is
A final
another
ending.
ending. We can just do a run through of each ending to see what the differences are and how to activate each one.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good
but
time.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if there is an actual ending or not. So it'll be
Yeah, because it
interesting.
only
That'll
took the internet like what 4 hours to figure out PT. And so
No,
and that-
it was a couple days for PT. I thought.
I thought Kojima thought it would be a couple days at least, and it was like
I think
within that
Kojima
night.
thought it would be like a couple weeks.
Oh yeah,
or
he
a month,
did. Silly goose.
and it was much shorter than that.
All right, so let me get through my stuff, and then we'll talk about E3. I got into the beta of Pokemon Go, and it's pretty cool. So, have you guys heard of Ingress? Like I think it's a Google game. It might be on Apple, but maybe you guys, neither of you have heard of it because you only have Apple devices.
I played it. It was available on Apple.
Okay, so Ingress, it's a location-based like game. It's about like it's kind of like it gives you locations in an area. So like what's cool about Ingress is that if you're new to an area or new to a city, and you have plenty of both GPS and battery power, it can kind of show you neat little places around the city that you might not see or you might want to see. So, like for instance, in Seattle, some places that would be showing up. We have a metal statue of Jimi Hendrix on Broadway, and we have like really cool little like art installations here and there, and those would pop up on Ingress. So what Pokemon Go did is they took literally the Ingress engine, and instead of just giving you random points for seeing these places in the city, like by being within GPS, it's geocache basically. So like without being super close to it, once you get close to it, it gives you like little extra Pokeballs and like potions and revive. Basically, it's like little loot boxes that refresh every 24 hours. And then meanwhile, each different area has like a meter, and it says you're 80 meters from like it usually has. It feels like who's that Pokemon from back in the day. It's a silhouette. Unless you've seen the Pokemon already of the Pokemon, you're like, oh well, that's obviously a Ghastly or whatever. Naturally, it seems like so far it's only the original 150, which is super great in a lot of ways. Anyway, so you walk around and you get close to a Pokemon, like your Pocket Rumbles, and you have to basically AR. It's like it's an AR game, and so like you look up on the street and there's like a Charmander sitting, on the sidewalk, or when you're sitting on your toilet, like what happened to me, there was a Ghastly in my bathtub, and I was like, whoa.
Ghastly in your bathroom.
It was pretty good, yeah. And so I'm sitting there like, tossing little Pokeballs at it with like a flick of my finger. And I'm sure that there's a rhyme or reason to like the little circle that like zooms in as you play. Like maybe that's where you're supposed to hit the Pokeball to guarantee that it gets on there. But I feel like the distance, like you don't really have a really good judge of how far that is in AR world versus, so you kind of flick too hard and the Pokeball goes past it or not far enough. And it's kind of frustrating, but you catch Pokemon, and then as you use them, or like you can find like items that like level them up. And I think if you battled with them, they would level up too. But I've only come across a couple gyms in my area, and that gym had a Ninetales that just wiped out my entire team in like 3 seconds because I only had like 2 Charmanders, a Ghastly, a Rattata, and like an Electrode, but they were all like level 1, and so they were really weak. But it's pretty cool. Like it's really fun. It's a different kind of Pokemon game, but it's definitely, I would like to see how it works, where how you can claim a location. Like it'd be cool to claim our board game shop as a gym, because you can join the gyms and like be, like when you play Pokemon, the little guys that are like outside that fight you before you get to the gym leader. Like you can sign up to be those guys and like let your Pokemon register as like a guy before you get to the gym. And stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat little game. It's definitely has a free to play model where I'm sure if you ran out of Pokeballs, they would charge you for more. But as long as you find locations, you can kind of do that. And you could even be on the bus and pass the location, and you usually have enough time to swipe it before you keep passing. So it's not like you have to necessarily walk everywhere. And it's a pretty decent distance from where the Pokemon is that you can like select it on the map, and then it lets you fight it wherever you are. So I don't know. Any questions about it? It's pretty cool. I mean, I like it.
So, in your opinion, is this a successful foray into, when I say mobile, I mean cell phones, into the mobile space for Nintendo?
Yeah.
Past Miitomo, is this something that's a good indicator for Nintendo?
The only thing that bothers me about this game is how much it drains my battery. So, like, I feel like when you're, I don't know, anywhere, it's like I have to choose between being able to call an Uber later or catching that like Charmander.
Obviously, you'd catch the Charmander.
Well, yeah, come on, guys. I'll walk home as long as I got that Charmander. But yeah, it's the struggle is really in all the GPS and all the data it probably uses with the GPS, because it really does map. It's when you look at the map, it's the city of wherever you are. So like it's your exact streets and stuff like that. So it's going to be different, and gyms are going to be different, and everywhere the location of everything's going to be different depending on what city you're in. So that's pretty cool.
So what do you need to do to level up?
I'm not quite sure. So when you catch any Pokemon so far in the beta, it gives you a like basically a rare candy specifically for that Pokemon. So it's like a Charmander candy or something, and you can eat that to gain some more power. But if you had 10 of them, you could evolve with that. I haven't seen how to find more of those with the exception of catching more Charmander or something like that. So there's got to be more to it. And I think that maybe I should be looking through the menus more and trying to figure out lots of this stuff. But you could also you also gain eggs, and you put the eggs in the incubator, and you walk around real time, like half a kilometer or something, and the egg will hatch, and you get another Pokemon. So there's lots of the elements of Pokemon that are just like building into this like fun AR exploration game. That's pretty neat.
Interesting.
I assume you could fight other people too. Like I assume I could battle you or something, but I don't know anyone else with the beta, so I haven't been able to test any of that. And then they have that you can pay $35 and get the little wristband that I think would save you battery power because it connects Bluetooth to your phone, and then that will buzz when there's a Pokemon nearby, and you can like tap it to throw a Pokeball at it or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but it's pretty cool. I also played the Halo Wars 2 beta. We talked about that, and then I played a lot of Rocket League to a point where I bought it the other day on Xbox, and I said I wasn't going to buy it again, but I didn't buy it the first time, so it seemed fair because that game's great. And when you get a bunch of people online, super fun. So Rocket League, still fun. Just an update.
Agreed.
Okay, now let's move into E3 2016. So first of all, we're going to talk about the big three, and then just Ubisoft and Bethesda and anything else we want to wrap up after that. We're going to start with the biggest video game dick of the show, Sony, who just laid that thing out there in a big old thwomp, and everyone else cowered because it was a hell of a show. Like it came out. Yeah. It was crazy. That was probably the best press conference I've ever seen. Sony's press conference. And they had a live orchestra the whole time. They started off with God of War 4, and that was the first legitimate, like, oh my God, like audience reaction I heard. It was like, it wasn't just the team that worked on it or the people paid to cheer. It was like the entire audience when it panned up and you saw bearded Kratos. Everyone was like, "Oh fucking god, shit!" Losing their mind. There was like a riot, things lit on fire. It's crazy. That was great.
Yeah, Brick killed a guy
with a trident. Where'd you get a hand grenade? The next thing that I thought was really important was the VR showing. It was so good that I now have to buy a VR. I thought it was very well done with Star Wars, basically Rogue Squadron first person, but it's Battlefront and Batman VR. Both of those things were exciting enough to get me on board, along with Resident Evil being VR too. Do you think you'd play Resident Evil VR, Kyle?
Yeah, I think that survival horror games will cater themselves very nicely to VR. Batman, I'm not so sure about. Same with Fallout. Those types of games, I'm really not interested in playing.
Well, Batman isn't Arkham Asylum. It's more of like a detective game where it's a first-person detective game. So you're just using Batman's stuff, but you're solving a murder mystery. I suppose that's what I've heard. So
yeah, I don't know if there's any combat. That's the type of thing that's weird for me.
I don't think it is.
If there's any combat or if there's
Star Wars will work great, I think.
Yeah, because that makes more sense because it's like a flight simulator or like a driving type of game.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm thinking of like flying across the city or traversing large areas, like I don't want to VR that.
Yeah,
like Fallout would not be fun for me, and I feel like it would freak my eyes out and be very tiring. And so I'd just be afraid that Batman may find itself in that situation as well.
Sure. I'm just worried that now we're not going to be able to get VR because, it went on sale when nobody wanted it. And so only like the diehards paid for it. And now that everyone's excited, I went to GameStop that day. I was like, hey, what's the deal? And they're like, nah. And Amazon's like, no. And everyone doesn't have any. So I don't even know if I'm going to get it.
Yeah, that will be the thing that you can't find this holiday season for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to get my hands on one, but who knows? Horizon still looks great. It looks even better this time. That's the game, right? Horizon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looks pretty cool. You got robots and you're fighting and running around. That sounds like a good time to me. Detroit looked phenomenal. The new game for Quantic Dream.
Yeah, that looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, tired there, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where Joe went, but we're going to keep talking. But Detroit looks great. They've got...
I'm still here.
Oh, there he is. We got sweet robots talking down other robots, and there's all these different ways you could do it depending on how much you did it. So it seems like the natural progression for that studio, and it looks beautiful. Crash Bandicoot's back, everybody. So We have them in Skylanders, and we're going to get remasters of games that no one really wants to play, but people think they want to play. So that's good. At least they're listening. Because I think it was really fun, though, that his shadow was Crash's shadow, because their entire stage was a screen for Sony. Even like the floor was part of the screen, which was clever. Resident Evil 7 we've already talked about. They just were like, "Woo, check this out." Death Stranding was announced. Kojima was on stage, being Kojima, and it's got Norman Reedus in it. So that looks weird as shit, and so I'm sure it's going to be great. Norman Reedus had a C-section, cut the baby out. Baby died, I think. That's what I got from the trailer. So that looks good. There's an exclusive Spider-Man game made by Insomniac for PS4, which is a really strange sentence. Everything I just said is weird. Exclusive Spider-Man game, because you'd think they would just try to get that on everything because it's Spider-Man. And then made by Insomniac, which everyone was really thinking it was going to be Sucker Punch making the Spider-Man game, but it isn't Insomniac instead. So that looks really good. Apparently, all of that was in-game footage. They released that statement afterwards. And I'm always up for a better Spider-Man game because we haven't had good ones in Spider-Man 2. So let's hope that it's like that. And that's pretty much the big news from Sony. I don't know where Injustice 2 was talked about, but it was, and it looks fantastic. I just had to talk about that because I'm excited for that game. Injustice is still one of my favorite fighting games ever, and I play it all the time still, so I'm excited for a sequel next year. Anything else you guys want to talk about for Sony?
Nope.
All right.
I think that overall, Sony did what they were supposed to do. They are in the front leading position. They talked about games. They didn't show PlayStation Neo, which I think is a smart thing, which is something that Microsoft did, which I think maybe worked for them and their entire Microsoft message, but I don't think it's going to play well with the consumer. But the games that they showed didn't leak. That Sony show didn't leak, and so there was a lot of excitement that you could see in the audience, as well as like the pundits who were live streaming the show, and it was a really, really good showing. This year, I think a lot of the Twitter chatter was in Sony's favor. They thought that Sony won the processors.
There's no question.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. But the next day, Nintendo showed Legend of Zelda, and I think that won a lot of hearts. But I'm really excited for Sony. I game mostly on PlayStation 4. A lot of the games were within my wheelhouse of genres that I like. There were some that were head scratchers, like Days Gone By. I'm not sure.
Good, though.
It does look good, but I had wanted it to be like a Last of Us prequel type of a project where Sony Entertainment passes around this universe to different studios, and each studio would do their take on it. But it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be DayZ and World War Z rolled into one. And I'm not sure if I'm too excited about that, but on the Microsoft side, they did show Dead Rising, and I think Dead Rising is the zombie game to beat. But overall, I was really excited for Sony. They did what they needed to do, and I'm really glad that you guys are now on the VR bandwagon, because it's going to be hot. VR is here to stay. This isn't a fad.
All right. Let's move on to Xbox and talk about the... They announced 2 consoles, and I think that was the mistake. You only need to announce one. They didn't need to announce... So Scorpio was announced at the end, which is the most powerful console ever created, according to the PR and marketing. But the first news was the Xbox S. So the Xbox One S is a slim console, still not nearly as small as the PS4, that you need an adapter to hook your Kinect up to, but outputs 4K. That was the big thing. It's a 4K console, even though you can find quotes, and I've found them, where Major Nelson says the Xbox One will put out 4K, like the box that you get, which I'm kind of bummed about, because that means if I wanted to do 4K, I'd have to get another console, or just wait for the PlayStation Neo, or the Scorpio or whatever. Doesn't matter. And it seemed like a sell. I was like, okay, the new controller looks really nice. It's got some upgraded features. The console is, you know, is gonna be $300 for 500 gigs, so a direct upgrade is pretty cheap. Or you can get the $400, I think, $400 2 TB, which is plenty of space. And I was like, great, that sounds good. And then at the end of the conference, they're like, oh wait, one more thing. If you wait only another 12 months ish, you can get a much better console. And so the half measure became a quarter measure. And then it's kind of like, well, then why wouldn't I wait? So it was a weird, like, they kind of killed sales for their current console by talking about the console after that because it's so soon. If they said, you know, 4 years from now, this other thing's coming out. But I think they wanted to, just in case Sony announced the Neo, announce this, but Sony didn't. And now they kind of look kind of silly. That's just my opinion.
I think that can go either way. I am on your side. It didn't fare well for the Wii either, or for Nintendo, that they said, "Hey, this awesome Zelda game, might as well just wait because we got a new console coming." By the way, so
Well, they didn't say
like,
that though at the show. To be fair,
that's true. But I mean, essentially, I'm not going to wait. I will not buy a Wii U. I will wait for the next console to play Zelda. Like I feel like I'm only gonna miss 1 or 2 games that exist on the Wii U now. So
well,
I might as well wait for the new
and
NX or whatever it's gonna be. Um,
You're right,
I
because what makes that worse is that they've already there's been rumblings that Smash Brothers is being ported to the NX, and everything else that's probably big and awesome on the Wii U is going to be ported to the NX anyway, because they already have these games. It's cheaper for them to port them and have them come out again than to make a new Smash Brothers.
I think, but I do think the big difference between Microsoft and Nintendo is that people play their Xbox probably on average, like, for 4 to 6 hours a day, whether it's Netflix, whether it's games, whether it's whatever. You get there's a lot more games, there's a lot more to do on an Xbox. So I think as a consumer, if you look at the amount of time you spend using it, it might be easier to talk yourself into buying the S next year, or buying the S this year and then buying the Scorpio the following year, because you use it so much. It's your entertainment system. You get a lot of utility out of it. Not saying I agree with that, but I think that's one way that it can be rationalized.
And that's
And
the way I
again,
mean.
it remains to be seen how expensive the Scorpio is going to be. But people like you or people like Justin who want 4K now, they don't want to wait next year, so they're going to buy the S this fall, and then next year they'll buy the Scorpio again to get the new hotness. I think that Xbox is kind of trying to cater to their hardcore market. They know that this will help their numbers the more hardware offerings they have available, right? So I think they know that the mass majority of the people who own Xboxes use them a lot, and will buy a second and third console. Same with PlayStation will do the same thing, and I think it will work for them. But it did seem silly for them to announce 2 consoles at the same time. It seems a little redundant, and that, yeah, it was the fact that it's S and Scorpio, too similar as well. I don't know. It wasn't a good look on their part, in my opinion.
And I mean, you're right, because I mean, I was even talking to you guys in the chat. I was like, well, I might get the S anyway because my Blu-ray drive's dying because I use my Xbox all the time. But it's still kind of like, if I'm gonna get a VR though, so if I can get the VR in October for $400, I'm not gonna get the Xbox One S. I'll just deal with the Blu-ray drive being a dick and buy stuff digitally, if I need to, and use my PlayStation 4 to watch my Blu-rays. I don't have a 4K TV yet, so it's not the biggest deal. So it's just yeah, it was a weird thing to do, I think. But that was the biggest news for the show. I think.
Well, actually, I'm going to stop you there. The biggest news of the show was the Xbox Play Anywhere. And I think that is in line with Microsoft's overall vision. And when I was referring to Microsoft having 2 different messages, I think it's that there's a future for the consoles under Microsoft, and I don't think there is. I think that that the S is a stopgap, and that the Neo, or not the Neo, the Scorpio is for the edge of Microsoft gaming, for people who have aged out of the game force, and are still attached to consoles. I think that Microsoft is very committed to putting games on Windows, and that Windows is the gaming ecosystem, and Xbox is just a hardware relic of old times. And so
I think
and so for them to have two consoles being announced was kind of confusing because Microsoft as a whole, as a company, is marching towards um, the um, the mobility of experience where you can do whatever you want wherever you want, regardless of device or place.
and I think the Scorpio is going to end up actually being a high-end like a gaming computer with the Xbox overlay.
I
I mean,
agree with that as well.
so that way they can basically have they're selling Steam boxes, right, with the Scorpio, but it's a Xbox box. God damn it.
I agree, and I think that the Scorpio won't have a drive. It'll just be streaming or in the cloud.
I don't know because it's got to be able to do everything the other one can do. So I think it'll probably still have a drive because they're gonna want to play 4K stuff in it. So if it's gonna be your new Xbox, you have your 4K Blu-rays, and we still don't have the bandwidth to really stream 4K. So I think it's gonna still have a drive, but I think it's gonna come with like a 5 terabyte drive, and it's gonna have like whatever all the RAM and all the teraflops and all the bullshit that they talk about, and it's gonna have mouse and keyboard support, and it's going to be able to go on to Microsoft Edge and have like Skype and have everything that this one has, but more. The Windows 10 apps are already going to be tested on the Xbox One S and the Xbox One, and so everything is just going to be one thing, and it's going to be this basically gaming PC under your TV that will maybe even play MP4s and all that shit, and just be everything you need for entertainment as well as gaming. So
Yeah, I think it will trick people into buying what essentially is a PC for their living room. And because the biggest reason I don't play PC games is I just don't feel comfortable playing on a keyboard.
exactly, and sitting
But
in a chair at my
that's
desk.
not a valid complaint anymore because anything that you play on a Windows PC, you can now use a 360 controller. So I think we are seeing the move to, and so the reason I still don't play PC games is because it's more comfortable for me to sit on my couch and I have a bigger TV than I have a PC monitor. So if they can do something like a Steam box, I think that is the difference between S and Scorpio, where Xbox S is just, that is your half step. And
It's your
Scorpio,
Windows RT versus your
and
Windows Surface. It's
and
like the two.
Scorpio is essentially, yes, this new platform, which is a console PC hybrid, which is kind of, call it platform agnostic, that will let you do whatever you want to do in the comfort of your living room.
But it won't be for the hardcore. It'll be for people who are too slow to adopt to PC. I don't think it's going to be for hardcore gamers. I think it's going to be for casuals.
I think it's for me and Kyle. I think it's for people who don't want to. I don't want to deal with putting a tower next to my TV and dealing with all the bullshit that comes with a PC. I just want my games to play. And that's
I think that PC will always be niche because of the territory that comes with the need to upgrade it constantly and things of that nature. If someone can buy an Xbox Scorpio that allows them to do everything their computer would do and play games for less than the cost of a normal PC. I bought my all-in-one PC for $400. If I can buy a console that's going to let me do that, plus play games for the same price, that's a no-brainer for me. It's going to be similar to the Wii, where it's so accessible that everyone will want it. Whether it's a step forward or backward, technologically speaking, I think will be irrelevant because of the appeal and the ease of use for being able to have Netflix and Amazon and more of what Xbox One is trying to do, where it's just marrying all of your entertainment together. I think that the Scorpio will probably be a step in that same direction, where it does that. But that remains to be seen what it actually will do. But
if it does, then it's a sell for me. I mean,
you're right. It doesn't make sense, this unification of gaming anywhere they're doing, to have another console come out and behave exactly like the Xbox One does. So it will, and it needs to be different. So it just kind of remains to be seen on whether they'll deliver on that or not.
Excellent. And then pretty much at the show, there were 3 or 4 games that were pretty interesting. Gears of War 4, I guess. I don't know. The beta was not sold on at all, and I'm sure it's going to be. Are you excited about that game, Kyle? You like Gears of War?
Yeah, I'm going to buy it because it's going to be a fun game. But I didn't get a good impression from the demo.
Halo Wars 2 already talked about. That was pretty cool. My favorite thing at E3 is when they say it's available now. It's always my favorite. So I was excited that there's a beta available now. We Happy Few was one of the most disturbing games I've ever seen, but I want to play it. It looked like BioShock was coming, but then it wasn't BioShock. It was this game, and it's like a weird adventure game where you're taking happy pills, so you see a pinata, but really you're hitting like a dead animal carcass, and everyone has weird, happy, smiley face, fake masks on.
Yeah,
So
I cannot wait to play that game.
yeah,
That
that game
is,
looks
I
so
think
good.
that was the most exciting thing for me to watch of all the trailers and everything.
And then Sea of Thieves. If it works where the way the gameplay demo they showed works, that sounds like an amazing time with friends being pirates. I just want to play that. It looks great. So if you haven't seen that, it's kind of like a cel shaded pirate sim, but all your friends are on your ship with you, and you're like, hey, lower the mast and fire the cannons, and yeah, it looks good. Pirate things. Then we have Nintendo. So Nintendo came out with this amazing trailer for Zelda, and you're like, oh, whoa, this looks amazing. This new Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, oh, God, it looks so good. And then they were like, oh, wait, we're going to show you another game real quick before we do this whole Zelda thing that we announced ahead of time. It was going to be a day of Zelda, just showing you all the cool Zelda things. And you seemed bummed about it, but once you saw this trailer, you're obviously jazzed about it. Let's give you 45 minutes of Pokemon. And you're like, no one needs 45 minutes of Pokemon. You don't, because we've all played Pokemon. Zelda is different. They're doing something different and interesting. Pokemon's still Pokemon. So you're like, okay, here's the starters and here's the legendaries. And now we're going to take you through walking through tall grass and throwing Pokeballs at shit. And you're like, what? Why? I don't care about the Trump Pokemon. Like, I don't care. It's funny. It's funny that they made a weasel or whatever look like Donald Trump. Funny. But I know how Rattatas work, man, and I don't want to watch you catch one and then fight with it against another Pidgey. I was so frustrated that they took 45 minutes to talk about that. The only thing they really announced was there's 4-player battles, that's great. But they could have all done that in like, here's the starters, 4-player battles. What? Drop the mic, get out of there, go back to Zelda, which looks. Did you see all this stuff on Zelda, Kyle? I know Joe did.
I did. Yeah, it looks very, very good. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I was just so good. And like it's like you can light stuff on fire, and it's like an open world. You can jump and climb, and it looks like it's like some kind of post-apocalyptic futuristic world where like Link is like a clone or some sort of person that's in like a chamber that he gets revitalized or something. It looks crazy. It looks so good. Look it up if you haven't seen the videos, because I've never been more excited about a Zelda game. And then the only other thing that was like a secret little slight, so that game's Severed. So it's a PS Vita game made by the Guacamelee Drinkbox Studios, the Guacamelee guys. It's a really cool touch-based RPG that's supposed to be excellent, is coming to Wii U/3DS in cross-buy this summer. So like in the next couple weeks or so. So that's very exciting. Otherwise, nothing much really from Nintendo, but their Zelda game pretty much swept the Game of the Show award for Game of the Show at E3. So they may have had one game there, but that game brought big awards, I suppose. Ubisoft, man, I'm long-winded here. Ubisoft had an interesting curse-filled show with Aisha Tyler, as per usual. And they showed the new South Park, Fractured But Whole. Looks fantastic, as you assumed it would. The new battle system looks great. All the character customization. They have there's almost 10 classes of different kinds of superheroes you can make, and you can mix and match, and you could be a boy or a girl this time, which is great. Yeah, it looks really great as per usual, because the last one was excellent. And when you buy the game, you get the other game for free. However, it's already backwards compatible on Xbox One, so the Xbox 360 game is backwards compatible, so you can play it now anyway. But it's a PS4 and Xbox One version of the game, so it'll probably have better frame rate, because that game was already riddled with. It was an Obsidian game, and as Obsidian games go, they don't run very well all the time, so it had its problems. And then that game Steep was the only other game that show that really blew me away. I thought it was awesome. It's been a long time since we've had a winter sports, extreme sports kind of game, and I've kind of missed that genre. I love the SSX games. I always like that kind of stuff. So the fact that there's really sweet, it looks like they finally had another use for the wingsuit tech in Just Cause 3, because that was great. And what else are you going to do with it but put it in a game where you can use a wingsuit? So they have that, snowboarding, skiing, and other random snow things. And like it's all GoPro based and there's first person view. And it just looks like a good time if you have friends that like that kind of stuff. And I think I can get some friends wrinkled into that. So it looks pretty cool. And then the other big thing was Star Trek Bridge Crew, which they brought out. They had actors from Star Trek playing it
Rest
in
in
VR.
peace, Anton.
Oh yeah, geez. That was really weird thing to happen. The car was supposed to be in park and the Jeep has to be recalled because he thought it was in park and he went to go get his mail and just got crushed because it was in neutral, not in park.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's really, really shitty. But yeah, so the Star Trek Bridge Crew game looks great. Like it looks like Space Team, the VR experience, which is awesome. They even had Geordie LaForge, Reading Rainbow himself, come out and talk about how cool it was. Whether that was PR speak or he really was that genuinely excited about it, I don't know. But it looks cool. Like I'll buy that for my PlayStation VR for sure. Like I wouldn't not. Looks great. So that was pretty much Ubisoft. I don't think I missed anything. It's all like, oh look, there's more Division and there's more stuff for these games you've already played. Like there's a new Just Dance. Of course, Bethesda. They had 3 big things. They talked about Skyrim HD. Which are you excited about that, Kyle? You, Joe? Either of you guys?
I don't need a remake of a game that's 5 years old. I mean, that's. I'll play it, but I won't be happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of unimpressed that they did Skyrim and not Morrowind or Oblivion.
If they did Morrowind, that would just.
It seems like something they're doing to make money. And I don't need to play Skyrim HD. I think I played the 360 version like literally 4 months ago. Like I am still playing that game because of how good it is. I don't need an HD remaster. And the screens, it didn't look like a big difference in terms of graphics anyway. Maybe that's because it's only one console generation behind. But it didn't look like when you look at like some of the remasters we've seen, like Halo or Gears, those are night and day graphical differences. Skyrim looked very, very similar. So I'm just kind of a little like, eh. And coupled with Fallout 4 VR, it's just like, all right, guys, I'm ready. Like, don't waste your time on this. Just make a new installment for either of those franchises. I don't know. It just seems like an easy way for them to make money. So I was a little about that.
And then they announced Prey 2, which is a totally different game than the game it was before when it was basically Boba Fett the game, which I was very excited about. They kind of changed it to like Dead Space survival horror kind of game, which looks really, really good. Don't get me wrong, but it's completely different than what we thought. Just basically they took the name and gave it to a new studio, or a new studio was making a game. They're like, why don't we just call it Prey 2? Because why not?
Yeah,
I
agree with you on that too. I wasn't excited when I heard Prey 2, but then when I watched it, I got excited because I realized it really wasn't Prey
at all. Yeah.
So I think it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. And that's about it. Anything left that you guys want to talk about from E3 that you liked before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I have one big thing, but to recap the Bethesda show, you guys are crazy. Like these are some of the best games of all time. Like Skyrim HD looks great. It's also gonna have mod support, and it's on a new generation, so there's no people who missed out on it because it came out on the tail end of the last console. So it's going to
It
bring
was
in a
not
lot
the
of
tail end. It was November of 2011, man.
And when did the console come out?
2007.
When did the one come out? 2012? I think it was 2012.
No, 2013.
Ah.
So there was 2 years, man. There was 2 years, and the people that are going to benefit from this, the people that tried to buy that game on PS3, which it was completely broken, forever. It never fixed as far as Skyrim goes. But it wasn't the tail. I mean, Uncharted 3, Last of Us came out like 2 years after almost this game came out because Uncharted 3 launched a week before or a week after Skyrim. So you got to think about it in that context. One was November 1st because one was 11/1/11 and the other one was 11/11/11 because they were all being fun and clever. So it wasn't the tail end. I would say it was at the peak of the console generation. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. Continue, Joe.
There's also the Kojima trailer.
We talked about that
Did you guys? I don't think you guys did.
in the middle of
We
PlayStation.
mentioned it, but we didn't get to expound at length
I
upon
said
its
that-
magnificence.
I said Norman Reedus had a baby and they cut it out, and he was sad about it. And Kojima is drinking Konami tears in his Instagram post. But I don't know what else there is to say about it, except it looks amazing, but we don't know anything about that game. We just know it's Kojima and we're going to buy it. That's all we know. Right?
Joe, what were your thoughts on Death Stranding?
I thought it was okay.
Great. Anything
think-
else, Joe?
Nope.
Kyle?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think the Death Stranding trailer is the epitome of anything Kojima has done. Because nobody knows what's happening, but we all know it looks good and we can't wait to play it. And there were so many elements of his other, like Norman Reedus and the fetus that was very reminiscent of PT. The things floating in the sky reminded me of Psycho Mantis. It just looked like the culmination of his life's work. And man, I'm so excited for what that means. So, and he's basically been given a blank check by Sony. So
Yeah.
I am so excited to see what that will mean for a Kojima game. He's already said that this isn't any one genre and that it's creating something entirely new. Whether or not that's marketing remains to be seen, but if anybody can make a game that's a genre we haven't thought of or considered yet, it would be him. So I am so far up this game's jock that it's almost uncomfortable.
All right. That's great. So yeah, that was the E3 episode. I hope everyone liked it. It was pretty much right on time. I think we covered everything that was important to cover. If you have anything that you think we didn't cover enough, please let us know in the comments. Or
More
you
Diablo.
or you can tweet at the intern at CBxCASTS on Twitter. You can make sure to watch this video as well as all of our other live streams and everything else at youtube.com/CBxCASTS. You can also email me if you want at taylor@cbxcast.com or email just the show in general at cbx@cbxcasts.com. And so we are the Cardboard Box. We're a web show about video games. We're also part of a growing media network called CBxCasts. Again, you can find us at cbxcast.com, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebooks, the Google Pluses, and please subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcast app you have by searching for the Cardboard Box. Coming up, we have, I think, a new Real Retro. Actually, Real Retro is going through a turmoil and a changeover, so it should be exciting to see what Phil and Michael come up with when they are now the hosts, as Becky takes a step down. But she'll still be on there, don't you worry, Real Retro fans. She'll be back, so she'll be able to say welcome and good evening to you, or whatever that line is that I forget. Comic Chat, we had a new episode a couple weeks ago. If you missed it, we talked about the Captain America Hail Hydra situation, as well as the new DC Rebirth. And I've been reading a lot of comics. I was on an airplane yesterday, so I had plenty of time to sit down and read some. So I'm going to try to wrangle Chris into doing another episode soon so we can discuss that, as well as Civil War 2, which, spoiler alert, it's awesome. And then that's it. I'm your host for today, Taylor. You can find more of me online at Katch. That's TK4TCH on Twitter, TK4TCH on Xbox and Twitch. But mostly I usually stream on the CBxCast Twitch, so find us there. And Katch with an A on PSN and Nintendo. You can find Kyle at Spobbygongs on Twitter and just tweet at him there to find his gamer tag because it's too hard to say.
I spent my 20 minutes trying to create a new gamer tag, and all the good ones, or the ones I wanted, were taken. So
Was MaceWindood gone?
No, but they released like a bunch of additional gamer tags from people who haven't logged on Xbox Live since the launch of 360. So
Right.
a lot of generic names were available, none of which I wanted or were interesting to me. So back to square one.
Back to square one, and you could find the quiet co-host of the hour, Joe Mack at Joe V Mack on Twitter, as well as codename Odysseus wherever you play video games. And that has been Cardboard Box episode 78, the E3 special. Take care and good luck in games. Cardboard Box.
Cardboard Box.
cardboard box.
Are we still live? Are we live?
Yeah, we're still alive.
Why?
What was the name of this episode again, Taylor?
The post 3 episode. Don't listen to the beginning.